You know that person who always keeps their distance, protects their heart like it is Fort Knox, and seems almost allergic to vulnerability. The one who says they are not interested in relationships, but somehow keeps finding reasons to stay close to you. Here is what most people fail to understand about avoidant attachment. These people do not express love in the way you might normally expect. They are unlikely to give you dramatic declarations or beautiful confessions. Instead, they communicate through an entirely different language, a language made of contradictions, small changes, guarded statements, and subtle admissions that most people completely overlook. Today, we are decoding that language, because when someone with avoidant attachment says certain things, they are not simply making casual conversation. They are opening a small door into a fortress they may have spent most of their life building. And if you learn what to listen for, you may begin to recognize that their behavior is saying far more than their words ever could. Let us break down 6 phrases that can reveal an avoidant person's deeper feelings, what those phrases may actually mean beneath the surface, and why these words can sometimes become their closest version of saying, "I love you." Let us begin with the first one, because it is powerful and often completely misunderstood by people who do not recognize the emotional meaning behind it. When someone with avoidant attachment says, "I'm not really a people person, but you're different," they are not simply giving you an ordinary compliment or trying to make you feel special for a moment. They may be giving you access to a part of themselves that they normally keep protected. They are showing you a small opening into an inner world they carefully built to keep most people at a comfortable distance. And that matters more than it may seem. People with avoidant patterns often build their identity around self-reliance, independence, and emotional control. The story playing quietly in their mind can sound something like this: "I do not need anyone. People are unpredictable. People disappoint you. People eventually become unreliable." This does not automatically mean they are arrogant, cold, or antisocial. Often, it can function as a deeply learned defense system shaped by earlier experiences. In some cases, it develops through inconsistent care, emotional distance, neglect, or moments when being vulnerable resulted in pain, rejection, or disappointment. So when they tell you that you are different, what they may actually be communicating beneath the surface is something much deeper. "You have somehow done something I believed was impossible. You have made me question the way I understand relationships, closeness, and emotional connection." That is not a casual statement for someone who has spent years learning how to maintain distance. It can feel enormous. It can challenge an entire worldview. They are acknowledging that the walls they built to keep people at a safe distance are not working in the same way with you. Somehow, you have reached a place they normally keep protected. You found a way through defenses they may not have realized could ever be reached. And for someone who has spent so much of their life using emotional distance as protection, that experience can feel both frightening and deeply exciting at the same time. This phrase can be their way of admitting that they are experiencing something they have spent a long time trying to avoid: genuine connection, real closeness, and emotional intimacy that feels much more serious than they expected. They probably will not say, "I'm falling for you," or "I think I love you," because those words can feel far too exposed. They can create a sense of vulnerability, emotional risk, and dependence that their protective system has been designed to avoid. Saying those words directly may feel like giving another person access to the deepest part of their emotional world. But when they say, "You're different," they may be getting as close as they currently feel safe enough to get. They may already be experiencing powerful emotions, stronger than they planned and deeper than they expected. So pay close attention when you hear this particular phrase, because what comes after it can reveal even more about what is happening beneath the surface. And this is where the pattern becomes especially interesting. When someone with avoidant attachment says, "I don't usually talk about this stuff," do not automatically treat it as an ordinary comment. It can be a major sign that something meaningful is happening internally. People with avoidant patterns can become extremely skilled at keeping conversations on the surface. They can be charming, funny, social, engaging, and easy to talk to, while still revealing almost nothing truly personal about themselves. They may know how to connect without becoming emotionally exposed. They can discuss work, hobbies, plans, opinions, and everyday life for hours, without ever allowing the conversation to reach the places that make them feel emotionally unprotected. So when they suddenly tell you that they do not normally talk about something, the important part is not only what they are saying, it is the fact that they are choosing to say it to you. That small admission can mean they have lowered a boundary they normally keep firmly in place. They may be showing you something they usually hide from other people. Maybe it is a fear they have never explained. Maybe it is a painful memory. Maybe it is an insecurity they normally cover with confidence or independence. Maybe it is simply a feeling they have never known how to express. Whatever the subject is, the emotional significance can come from the act of sharing itself. For an avoidant person, opening up may not look dramatic. It may happen through one sentence, one unusual confession, or one quiet detail about their life. You might even miss it because they may say it casually and then quickly change the subject. But that quick retreat can be part of the pattern. They opened the door, realized they had become vulnerable, and then instinctively tried to close it again. This is why you should not judge their feelings only by how long they stay emotionally open. Pay attention to the moments when they open at all. Those moments can tell you something. If they normally protect their private world, but begin sharing pieces of it with you, the difference matters. They may not know how to say, "I trust you." Instead, they may tell you something they never tell anyone else. They may not say, "You make me feel safe." Instead, they may admit something they usually keep hidden. They may not say, "You matter deeply to me." Instead, they may start allowing you to see the parts of themselves they normally keep behind the walls. And that is where the real message can be found. The words may sound simple, but the emotional risk behind them may be much bigger than the sentence itself. Now listen carefully, because this is where many people misunderstand avoidant behavior. They expect love to become more obvious as feelings grow stronger. They expect more messages, more affection, more reassurance, and more direct communication. But sometimes an avoidant person's growing attachment can initially make them more cautious rather than more expressive. The stronger the feelings become, the more vulnerable they may feel. And vulnerability can activate the very defenses they have relied on for years. That can create confusing behavior. They may move closer and then suddenly pull back. They may share something personal and then become quiet. They may show genuine interest and then act as though nothing happened. They may want connection, while simultaneously becoming afraid of what that connection means. This contradiction is exactly why their language needs to be understood differently. The important question is not always, why are they acting perfectly consistent? The better question is, what changed compared with how they treat everyone else? If they are normally emotionally private, but begin sharing more with you, notice it. If they usually avoid personal conversations, but start asking deeper questions, notice it. If they usually keep everyone at a distance, but repeatedly find their way back to you, notice that too. These small shifts can reveal more than a dramatic confession ever could. And once you understand that, their behavior starts becoming easier to read. The fortress may still be standing, but the door is no longer completely closed. That difference matters. Because sometimes love does not first appear as a loud declaration. Sometimes it appears as a person who has spent years saying, "I do not need anyone," suddenly realizing that there is one person they do not want to lose. It is a carefully developed survival strategy they have practiced for years. Keep people interested, but never let them get too emotionally close. Keep conversations easy and surface level. Keep interactions comfortable, predictable, and under control. They can talk about sports, work, current events, hobbies, shared interests, opinions, and ideas for hours. But when the conversation gets anywhere near their emotional core, they know exactly how to move around it. They can change the subject, make a joke, ask you a question, or simply shift the conversation somewhere safer. But when they say, "I don't usually talk about this," something completely different is happening. They are basically telling you, What I am about to share with you is private territory. I am genuinely nervous right now, but I am going to tell you anyway because you have become important enough to make the risk feel worth taking. Maybe they are telling you about their childhood. Maybe they are revealing their deepest fears and insecurities. Maybe they are talking about past failures, painful disappointments, or dreams they have never felt comfortable sharing with anyone else. The exact subject is not always the most important part. The real meaning is in the decision they are making in that moment. They are opening a door they normally keep closed, locked, and heavily protected. And they are opening it because somewhere underneath all those defenses and protective habits, they trust you enough to see what is behind it. This is vulnerability happening slowly and deliberately. It is vulnerability as a choice rather than something that accidentally slips out. For people with more secure or anxious attachment patterns, sharing personal information can feel natural, sometimes even necessary for creating closeness. But for someone with avoidant patterns, every personal revelation can feel like jumping out of a plane without knowing whether the parachute will open. Their instincts may tell them to shut down, change the subject, laugh it off, make a distracting joke, or physically create distance. Every habit they have reinforced over the years may be telling them to retreat. Yet they are pushing through that internal alarm, because what they feel for you has started becoming louder than their fear. When they say, "I don't usually talk about this stuff," the deeper message may be, "I am choosing to let you closer, even though closeness scares me. I am choosing connection instead of hiding behind my walls. I am accepting the possibility of being hurt, because what I feel for you has become stronger than my need to protect myself completely." Now, this next phrase confuses people more than almost anything else, and understandably so. On the surface, it sounds like a contradiction. It can feel like a mixed message, especially to someone who already struggles with uncertainty in relationships. When someone with avoidant attachment says, "I need some space, but I still want to talk to you," it sounds as if they are asking for two opposite things at once. They want distance, but they also want connection. And that contradiction can easily create anxiety, confusion, and insecurity in the other person. But here is the important part. The contradiction may actually be the message. Understanding it can help you recognize what may be happening underneath their behavior. People with avoidant patterns often need space when emotional intensity becomes too high. It can feel as necessary to them as breathing. It is not always a punishment. It is not automatically rejection. And it is not necessarily about you personally. When emotional intensity rises in a relationship, whether because of conflict, deeper intimacy, vulnerability, constant closeness, or simply spending a lot of time together, their nervous system may become overwhelmed. This can happen without them consciously deciding to create distance. Their body can react before their logical mind has even caught up. Their attachment system may have learned that too much closeness means danger, pressure, loss of control, or emotional pain. So distance becomes a protective response. It is a pattern that can develop early in life when closeness was inconsistent, unpredictable, or connected with uncomfortable experiences. But here is the part you need to pay attention to, because it can reveal something important about their feelings. When they add, "But I still want to talk to you," or "But I don't want to lose you," or anything similar that shows they want to preserve the connection while taking space, they are doing something very different from simply withdrawing. They are trying to fight against an old pattern. In simple terms, they may be saying, "Everything inside me is telling me to step away and shut down, but another part of me does not want to lose you. I am caught between needing distance and wanting connection, and I am trying to find a way through it." That second part matters. The "but" can reveal where their emotional struggle is happening. In many situations, an avoidant response might simply be silence. They may disappear. They may stop responding. They may retreat until their emotions settle, the intensity drops, and they once again feel in control. That is the familiar pattern. Distance creates relief, relief creates safety, and safety makes it easier for them to return later. But when they actually communicate their need for space while also making it clear that they want to maintain contact with you, something different is happening. They are trying to stay connected despite their instinct to escape. They are attempting to balance their strong need for independence with feelings that are becoming harder to ignore. The deeper translation of that seemingly confusing statement may sound like this: I am scared by how much I care about you, but I care enough that I do not want to disappear completely. I am trying to understand how to be close to you without feeling like I am losing myself, and I am also trying not to lose you in the process. That is a very different message from simple rejection. Now consider another phrase that can immediately make someone panic. This is moving really fast. Your first reaction might be fear. You may instantly think they are preparing to say, we need to slow down. Maybe they want to break. Maybe they are about to end things. That reaction is understandable. But pause for a moment and look beneath the words. The meaning can be much more complicated than it first sounds. For someone with a secure attachment style, moving quickly might mean becoming exclusive after a few dates, saying I love you after a month, moving in together after several months, or discussing marriage within the first year. But for someone with avoidant patterns, the word fast can have a completely different meaning. Their internal timeline may be much slower when emotional closeness is involved. Fast might mean texting every day. It might mean making plans more than a week ahead. It might mean meeting each other's friends or family. It might mean having serious conversations about feelings or the future. It could even mean spending several nights together in a row, or simply showing up consistently and becoming emotionally reliable. Things that feel normal, comfortable, or even cautious to a secure person can feel incredibly intense to someone whose nervous system associates intimacy with pressure or threat. So when they say, this is moving really fast, do not immediately assume they are trying to escape. They may be processing what is happening. They may be noticing how quickly they are becoming attached. They may be realizing that the connection has become more meaningful than they expected. They are becoming conscious of something they may normally avoid thinking about, and that awareness can be huge for someone who has spent years creating distance almost automatically. The most important thing is to listen to what happens after they say it. Do they disappear completely, or do they remain connected? Do they stop caring, or do they continue checking in? Do they become cold and detached, or do they still make an effort while asking for a slower pace? Those differences matter. Someone can feel overwhelmed by closeness and still have genuine feelings. In fact, sometimes the intensity of their feelings is exactly what makes closeness feel overwhelming. The problem is that strong emotions can activate old protective habits. They may want you while also wanting space. They may miss you while refusing to admit it. They may think about you constantly while telling themselves they need to focus on something else. They may become uncomfortable when things get serious, because seriousness means vulnerability, and vulnerability means risk. But if they are still trying to communicate, still trying to stay connected, and still making small efforts to remain part of your life, do not overlook those details. They may be showing you their feelings through behavior rather than dramatic words. Stay with this because the next part makes the pattern even clearer. Avoidant attachment is not simply about not wanting love. Often it is about wanting connection while struggling with what connection makes them feel. They can desire closeness and fear it at the same time. They can care deeply and still pull away. They can want someone in their life while needing time alone to regulate themselves. That is why their words sometimes sound contradictory. The contradiction is often where the emotional truth is hiding. And when you learn to hear both sides of what they are saying, their behavior becomes far less confusing. The real key to understanding what they feel is to watch what they do after saying those words, not simply the words themselves. If they remain present, even after admitting that the connection feels intense, if they continue showing up in your life, if they still initiate conversations, make plans, and slowly allow more vulnerability and closeness, then that pattern of behavior tells you far more than the statement alone. They are not running. They are not vanishing. They are not creating a huge wall or suddenly ending everything. Instead, they are explaining what is happening inside them. They are giving a voice to the fear, pressure, and emotional overload they are experiencing. They may even be quietly asking for reassurance that this connection is safe and that you are not going to suddenly hurt or abandon them. What they may really be communicating is, I am feeling things I have never felt before, or things I have not allowed myself to feel in a very long time. The intensity is overwhelming the coping methods I normally use. I do not completely understand how to handle this much emotion or this level of closeness, but I am still here. I am still present. I am trying to work through it. That can be an avoidant person's way of saying, I am falling in love with you, and it is overwhelming and frightening, but I do not want to stop. I do not want to lose this connection, and I definitely do not want to lose you. Pay attention to the effort, because sometimes the effort is the confession. Now consider another phrase that can sound like simple self-protection, but is actually filled with layers of psychological meaning. When someone with avoidant attachment tells you, I'm not good at this relationship stuff, it may sound like a warning, almost like they are placing a label on themselves that says, do not expect too much from me. I may disappoint you. Lower your expectations now so you do not get hurt later. But underneath those words can be something much more vulnerable. It can be an honest admission that they know they struggle, combined with a quiet request for patience, understanding, and acceptance. People with avoidant patterns can be painfully aware of their own relationship habits. They may know that they pull away when closeness becomes intense. They may know they struggle to express emotions or give verbal affection. They may know they sometimes need space in ways that make little sense to the person beside them. They may also look back at their relationship history and see connections that ended badly, people who became tired of waiting, people they pushed away, or situations they ended before they could become vulnerable enough to get hurt. So when they tell you, I'm not good at this, several things may be happening at once. First, they are admitting a weakness. For someone who normally hides weakness, that admission can require real trust. They are showing you an imperfect part of themselves instead of pretending everything is under control. Second, they may be testing whether you will stay. They may be wondering, will you leave when you see my flaws? Will you change your mind when you realize I am not as emotionally easy as I appear? Will you use my weaknesses against me? In a strange way, they may be giving you an opportunity to walk away before the relationship becomes even deeper. And then comes the part that matters most. They may also be saying, without directly saying it, but I am trying with you. I am actually making an effort. Think about that for a moment. If they truly felt nothing, why would they remain in a situation that requires emotional effort? Why would they have this conversation at all? Why would they acknowledge their struggles and still choose to remain present? For many people with strong avoidant habits, emotional closeness can feel uncomfortable enough that they would rather keep everything casual, undefined, or distant. When things become serious, they may normally create distance before attachment becomes too strong. But if they are still here, still talking, still acknowledging their difficulties, and still attempting to make the connection work, that effort itself can be meaningful. They may be communicating something like, I do not know how to love you in the way you may deserve. I do not have the perfect words, the perfect emotional skills, or a clear guide for how to do this. But I want to learn. I want to try. I want to figure it out. Please give me some patience while I learn how to stay close without losing myself, because you have become important enough that growth feels worth the discomfort. That is a very different message from someone who simply does not care. Now save one of the most powerful signs for last, because when someone with avoidant attachment genuinely says, I miss you, you should pay attention. And I am not talking about a casual text sent without thought, or a quick phrase they say out of habit. I mean a sincere, emotionally exposed admission where they actually allow themselves to acknowledge your absence. That can be extremely significant. People with strong avoidant patterns often work hard to minimize their need for others. Their emotional strategy can be built around independence, self-reliance, and the belief that they are completely fine on their own. They may convince themselves that they do not need anyone deeply. They may keep emotional dependence at a safe distance because dependence can feel dangerous. So admitting that they miss someone means admitting something that challenges that entire protective system. It means acknowledging that another person's absence creates a noticeable emotional space. It means admitting that someone's presence has become important to their mood, comfort, and inner world. It means admitting that loneliness feels different when that particular person is not around. And for someone who has spent years protecting their independence, that can feel deeply uncomfortable.